My first experience with the internet was on YouTube. Why else would I become a YouTuber if not for an internalized bias for the platform? Later, when I was freshly 13, I created a Twitter account. My mom was deeply worried about me using Twitter at such a young age. She was right to be worried. Internet trauma aside, I was always told by the adults around me that I should never share anything personal online. My real name, address, phone number, and certainly not my favorite kinks. The internet of today is so far removed from the internet that I and many others first experienced in the late 2000s and early 2010s. Look at us now. Our credit cards, legal names, addresses, and now government IDs freely handed over to every website that we create accounts on. And that is only the direct privacy risk. Everything we do on major platforms is tracked from start to finish. We aren't using a product, we are the product. Age verification is the latest breach of user privacy. The first websites to be affected by it were porn websites. The first state to enact age verification laws for porn websites was Louisiana in January of 2023. As of right now, the biggest adult website, Pornhub, is not actually blocked in the state. However, their website traffic has dramatically declined. Pornhub's parent company, Alo, told Mashable, the site has seen traffic decline by around 80%. Outside of Louisiana, which seems to be an exception for some reason, the website is now completely blocked in 21 states. Upon visiting the website, users in blocked states are now greeted with an informational video from adult actress Sherry DeVille explaining why they cannot access the site. A message below also reads, "As you may know, your elected officials in your state are requiring us to verify your age before allowing you access to our website. While safety and compliance are at the forefront of our mission, giving your ID card every time you want to visit an adult platform is not the most effective solution for protecting our users, and in fact, will put children and your privacy at risk. In addition, mandating age verification without proper enforcement gives platforms the opportunity to choose whether or not to comply. Until a real solution is offered, we have made the difficult decision to completely disable access to our website in your state." The message varies slightly state by state. The message I just read was required upon visiting the site in Florida. Adult creators who have verified accounts in blocked states, however, can log in and access the site to continue posting, since as creators, they have already submitted age verification. Halo has stated that they made this decision because the company is adamantly against website-by-website age verification, which requires users to submit proof of their age on every individual adult website they visit. It's also likely that the company chose to block their website in these states to avoid hefty fines that could be sent their way if minors were to access the site. A representative for ALO told multiple sources, "These people did not stop looking for porn. They just migrated to darker corners of the internet that don't ask users to verify age, that don't follow the law, that don't take user safety seriously, and that often don't even moderate content." While it can be hard to defend any adult website due to all of their issues with CP, non-consensual content, and their poor treatment of legitimate creators, this representative is absolutely right. Since Pornhub purged about 80% of their content and every non-verified user, no website even comes close to their amount of moderation. Pornhub still isn't great, let me be very clear. But websites like Smutter, Xhamster, Xvideos, and PeakVids are much, much worse. I bet you didn't even know what some of those were. That's probably not an achievement, actually, for me. The interesting thing is that besides Pornhub and a handful of websites, no other adult websites are following these new laws. When I went on Xvideos in Florida for research purposes, I could access the site like I would anywhere else. Florida's law was passed at the beginning of this year, but it doesn't seem like most websites have been complying with it. They probably don't care, but also state-by-state website laws like this are a technological nightmare for these companies, so it's no surprise that they're not abiding by them. The laws themselves are, like most American laws, vague. In most states, their laws specify commercial websites where more than 1/3 of the content is pornographic, like in Louisiana, where Law HB 142 enacts age verification laws and makes commercial websites where more than 1/3 of their content is pornographic liable to being sued for damages by individuals. North Dakota and Arizona are the most recent states to follow, with Arizona's law to take effect at the end of September. The definition of pornography is already opaque. To most people, they'd likely consider intercourse or nudity with an intention to arouse to be pornography. But to backwards American representatives, pornography can be warped to fit any definition. Kelly Burke, professor of sociology at University of Nebraska at Lincoln and author of The Pornography Wars, the Past, Present, and Future of America's Obscene Obsession, told 19th News, "Over the past couple hundred years, conservatives have used various arguments to talk about why porn is bad for us. Conservatives think that they can gain some traction with broader publics by saying that kids are accessing porn, and that's why we need to stop them." Every other state that has passed porn age verification laws have similar vague language to Louisiana's. In Kansas, SB 394 states that any commercial entity that knowingly shares or distributes material that is harmful to minors on a website, and the material appears on 25.0% or more of the web pages viewed on the website in any calendar month, or that knowingly hosts the website, must verify a person's age. Indiana's Act 17 says, "An adult-oriented website operator that displays material harmful to minors." Georgia is even broader, with Law SB 351 stating, "Social media companies must verify the age of users and gain parental consent for under 16s." Thankfully, the Georgia law was ruled unconstitutional by a judge and blocked from going into effect, but other laws have not had the same outcome. Texas's age verification law, HB 1181, was recently decided to be constitutional by the Supreme Court themselves.
HB 1181 simply requires adults to verify their age before they can access speech that is obscene to children,
Clarence Thomas wrote in the court's 6-3 majority opinion.
The statute advances the state's important interest in shielding children from sexually explicit content, and it is appropriately tailored because it permits users to verify their ages through the established methods of providing government-issued identification and sharing transactional data.
Yet there's nothing simple about it. It puts adults and children's privacy at risk and prohibits their freedom of speech. There's nothing inherently wrong with not wanting minors to access pornography, but these laws are woefully vague. A site that hosts more than 1/3 of content that is harmful to minors could be something like Reddit. I mean, have you guys seen some of the porn subreddits on there? Content that is harmful to minors is also vague. The definition comes from a landmark 1973 Supreme Court decision, which itself revised earlier language from 1957 to say material harmful to minors is any material that the average person applying contemporary community standards would find, taking the material as a whole and with respect to minors, is assigned to appeal to or is designed to pander to the prurient interest. Further, the material in question must lack serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. Pornhub themselves have consistently argued for device-based verifications, wherein, with the touch of a button on a smartphone, computer, or tablet, users should be able to mark a device as 18+, providing it access to an adult user experience. The technology to successfully verify user age at the device level exists today, and it can successfully prevent children from accessing adult content without risking the disclosure of sensitive user data. When an adult wants to access apps or websites intended for adults, they can age verify their user account, such as an Apple ID, a Google or Microsoft account, directly through their device. This would remove the need for a user to verify their age with sensitive material on every single website they visit. However, it still has its own issues. Eric Goldman wrote in his essay on online age verification, device authentication creates a host of new problems. The device seller still has to do the age authentication, with the attendant privacy and security risk outlined. Multiple users, some adults, some minors, may share a device. Devices can be easily sold or traded to unauthenticated users. Users may have other devices that are not similarly authenticated, and broadcasting the device user's indicator about age to publishers could increase the risk of privacy and security violations, especially when publishers or their vendors combine that information with other data about the user. When it comes to porn age verification laws, the risk far outweigh the benefits. Imagine data leaks exposing users' real names and in turn, what kind of porn they watch. That could be potentially life-ruining. I mean, I know for me it would be. But age verification laws, no matter what their intended purpose are dangerous in essence. Like we are seeing now, this issue will extend far beyond pornography. Not only that, but this is only the first step in a full-on ban on pornography. Russell Vaught, an architect of Project 2025 and President Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget, admitted that age authentication mandates would intentionally serve as a backdoor way to censor pornography. Sites will continue expanding their age verification systems until they have the licenses or credit card information of every single user. And will any of this protect children in the end? No, not only will it worsen everyone's experiences online, but it will actually put children at more risk than they were before. Today, I will discuss why age verification laws and policies, as they currently stand, are dangerous and ineffective. But first, I'll need you to verify your age for me. A simple credit card will do. Imagine my shock when I opened up Pornhub a few weeks ago and found it requesting me to sign in order to watch my... Well, that part of the story isn't relevant. I immediately looked up PA age verification to see if genocide lover Governor Shapiro let a bill like this pass in my state. Then I remembered that I was using a VPN, and would you guess it, my location was set to Texas. Yeehaw. A huge draw to VPNs, as most of us know, is their ability to let users reroute and change their IP addresses to various locations. This can mean bypassing restrictions in a certain state or country, or something else entirely. I, for one, have, in the past, changed my VPN to locations in Japan so that I could get more ads in Japanese in order to practice the language more. Business Insider reports that VPN Mentor said it detected a surge of 1,150% in VPN demand in Florida in the first few hours after the age verification law took effect at the start of the year. In the UK, where a nationwide age verification law has recently taken effect, hourly signups to the VPN company Proton surged 1,140%, as Mashable reported. We will discuss the new UK law later. As we continue with this video, it will become obvious that VPNs are just a temporary band-aid on the actual problem. The Electronic Frontier Foundation put it well. As more states and countries pass age verification laws, it is crucial to recognize the broader implications these measures have on privacy, free speech, and access to information. While VPNs may be able to disguise the source of your internet activity, they are not foolproof. nor should they be necessary to access legally protected speech. In my home state of PA, for example, I discovered that Law SB 603, a law requiring age verification on porn websites, was introduced this past April. Using a VPN to circumvent restrictions will become impossible when every state in Western country has restricted their citizens' access to pornography. One of the most recent and disturbing rollouts of age verification wasn't on a porn website. It was on YouTube. Although I could see how you could confuse the two. It's likely the platform that you're watching this video on, if they haven't suppressed it into the depths of hell yet. As if YouTube didn't already hate its users and creators enough, now they've rolled out a new AI-powered age verification system for its US users. In the announcement on the YouTube blog, they said,
"We will use AI to interpret a variety of signals that help us to determine whether a user is over or under 18. These signals include the types of videos a user is searching for, the categories of videos they have watched, or the longevity of the account. When the system identifies a teen user, we'll automatically apply our age-appropriate experiences and protections, including disabling personalized advertising, turning on digital well-being tools, adding safeguards to recommendations, including limiting repetitive views of some kinds of content."
Of course, AI-powered systems rarely work smoothly. Since its rollout, this age verification system has already incorrectly identified plenty of users. If you're an adult who has been mistaken for a minor, then it's up to you to correct the mistake by verifying your identity. You can do this in 4 different ways: upload a photo ID, upload credit card information, upload a selfie, or verify by using your email. Though from what I've seen from people online, that last option isn't available anymore. It's obvious that people lie about their age. I mean, I think I'm 30 on my PlayStation Network account because I got my first PlayStation when I was 14, and you can't have your own account if you're under 18. Verifying whether or not a user is a minor could be extremely helpful. It could prevent minors from seeing overly graphic or triggering content. However, rarely are systems like these ever used for good. Prior to this new system, if a minor lied about their age on their account, the only videos that they'd be able to see, on top of YouTube's regular content, would be age-restricted videos, which are not often accurately age-restricted anyway, with LGBTQ content, leftist political content, and so on being frequently falsely flagged as inappropriate for users under the age of 18. This new age verification system doesn't just affect minors though. TechSpot reported that the company said that it will only allow those who have been inferred or verified as over 18 to view age-restricted content on YouTube that may be inappropriate for younger people. Previously, you only needed to be logged in order to view age-restricted content, so long as your account's birthday said you were over 18. Now, basically, if you've been falsely flagged, you're shit out of luck unless you want to verify your identity. YouTube's new age verification system is just another way to censor content, and they're barely hiding it. Minors who have been determined to be minors or adults who have been falsely flagged won't just have age-restricted content hidden from them. What exactly will be defined as harmful content on YouTube that shouldn't be showed to users under the age of 18? There is a huge likelihood that content that is leftist, LGBTQ, or about female reproductive health and sex education will be hidden from these users. YouTube is not a social media platform like Instagram or TikTok. It is a huge site filled with millions of educational videos with less emphasis placed on interactions between users. Placing restrictions on minors or adults who have been falsely flagged is dangerous and should be taken seriously for the censorship that it really is. Our offline lives should not be tied to our online lives unless we want them to be. We shouldn't have to hand over sensitive information in order to use fucking YouTube. You know, the platform that is a goldmine for hackers? Adults should not be punished so that minors aren't exposed to possibly harmful content. More than that, minors should have free access to content that isn't pornographic in nature. Protecting children online is a consequential and urgent issue, but privacy and human rights advocates have long warned that, while they may be well-intentioned, age checks introduce a range of speech and surveillance issues that could ultimately snowball online. As Stanford's Pifferkin puts it, ultimately, age verification tech actually poses a risk to the kids it is supposed to protect. It chills their ability to access information, and it can put them at risk of privacy violations, identity theft, and other security issues. In his previously cited essay, The Segregate and Suppress Approach to Regulating Child Safety Online, Eric Goldman writes in detail about how different kinds of age verification laws are more disadvantaged and even dangerous than they are beneficial. Goldman also appeared in an interview on journalist Taylor Lorenz's YouTube channel, so I will link that video down below. For example, Goldman writes about parental consent laws, which he states gives parents another tool to control what online content and resources are available to their children, and that gatekeeping can lead to life-changing and detrimental outcomes for minors. He also details many points that are often left out in these conversations, like how age verification will increase latency and costs for websites. For smaller websites that do not have the bandwidth to verify the age of all their users, they will essentially disappear off of the age-checked internet. These laws may apply to children, but they will affect everyone. Websites would rather verify all of their users and or censor their content than risk a child interacting with any inappropriate content on their site. While the UK's Online Safety Act and others like it claim to be narrowly focused on pornographic content and other material that promotes suicide, self-harm, eating disorders, or abusive and hateful content, the subjective nature of these restrictions has led to mass censorship, with the de facto removal of vast swaths of content from the web. Tech companies find it easier and cheaper to simply remove mass amounts of information than have something slip through and be deemed non-compliant. Goldman writes, "The requirement to authenticate online readers before allowing readers to enter the virtual premises differs substantially from offline content restrictions. Imagine, for example, if a bookstore sells a mix of restricted and unrestricted items, and a law required the bookstore to age authenticate every patron before they could enter the store, so that the bookstore could block minors from entering. That kind of pre-transaction access barrier would impermissibly block minors from accessing constitutionally protected unrestricted materials, and it would dissuade adults from entering the premises to obtain materials, unrestricted and restricted, which they are legally entitled to obtain. Imposing that kind of pre-access screening online deviates from the offline world. The reality is that there is no online equivalent for age verification, let alone a safe option. When we consider nationwide and vague bans like the UK's Online Safety Act, every issue that we have already discussed is only further heightened. As the UK government described on their website, the Act requires platforms to prevent children from accessing harmful and age-inappropriate content, and provide parents and children with clear and accessible ways to report problems online when they do arise. Apparently, the Act is set on somewhat of a sliding scale for providers, meaning smaller services with limited functionality won't be required to take the same actions as large corporations. In concept, this seems logical, but in practice, no small site would be willing to risk the government's hefty fines. They'd rather pull a Pornhub, block their site completely. For example, the London Fixed Gear and Single Speed (LFGSS) online forum announced in December 2024 that it would be shutting down the day before the Online Safety Act goes into effect. It noted that it is effectively impossible to comply with the law. This was in response to UK regulator Ofcom telling online businesses that they need to start complying. When you regulate the internet as if it's all just Facebook, all that will be left is Facebook. The Act also purports to protect adult users alike, since the Act is meant to make companies be more upfront about how much or what kind of harmful content is on their platform. This Act has actually been in the making since 2023, when it was signed into law, but the age verification step in the Act's timeline wasn't set to go into effect until July 25th, 2025. Which it obviously did. Again, the law faces these same privacy risks that some US states' porn laws and YouTube's new policy does. The requirement to hand your ID over to a third-party authenticator is concerning. Your real identity will be forever linked to your Reddit or porn account. I don't even use my email for porn websites, and you will be at an increased risk for data breaches that can lead to identity theft. These firms collect biometric data, facial scans, passport and personal identification documents, and even banking and credit card information to verify users' identities. The third-party age verification companies used by leading social media platforms include a firm tied to Trump-supporting billionaire Peter Thiel, and another firm set up by former Israeli intelligence officers. Some of the firms used by these social media companies have been criticized in the past for presiding over privacy breaches. Facial scans are also incredibly dangerous, since again, it ties your real face, something that you cannot easily change, to your online activity. This can lead to government tracking, meaning if you, like me, frequent communities online that are deemed threats to your government, your online identity can be easily assessed, as you have been forced to hand over your real identity to access these online spaces. Margaret Kaminsky, associate professor at Colorado Law and director of the Privacy Initiative at Silicon Flatirons, explains that a government that's capable of tracking your face wherever you are is capable of tracking your location wherever you are, which means it's capable of tracking every association you have. Again, this will affect adults' privacy and access to free information on the internet, but the issues that this will create for children are also vast. Minors attempting to access not porn websites, but websites like YouTube, Reddit, and Wikipedia will face huge blockades to educational or supportive communities. The internet, while being a bad place for many different reasons, does have positive implications that governments and bad actors conveniently ignore. Online, kids can develop a sense of community and access information that they may not be able to in their real lives. Ridiculously enough, after the age verification part of the Act went into effect, users of Spotify in the UK were greeted with a message that read, "Age-restricted content and checking your age. We partner with Yoti, a trusted digital identity company, to help us identify if users are of eligible age to access some Spotify content and features, like music videos that are labeled as 18+ by rights holders." Age verification to be able to fully utilize a music streaming app? How much worse could this get? Much worse. Upon the age verification law going into effect, Wikipedia legally challenged the law's regulations, saying that if it was subject to so-called Category 1 duties, which would require Wikipedia's users and contributors' identities to be verified, it would need to drastically reduce the number of British users who can access the site. A Category 1 service in the Act, as defined by The Guardian, is a large user-to-user platform that uses algorithmic contender recommendations. The Wikimedia Foundation made a case that their ability to edit and publish information on the website would be greatly prohibited if they were defined as a Category 1 platform. They argue that the definition of a Category 1 platform is too broad. much like most of this law. The judge essentially dismissed the case, saying, "Any decision to make Wikipedia a Category 1 provider would have to be justified as proportionate if it were not to amount to a breach of the right to the freedom of expression," he said. But he added that it would be premature to rule on this since Ofcom had not yet determined that Wikipedia was a Category 1 service. The head of the Wikimedia Foundation said in response to the judge's dismissal, "While the decision does not provide the immediate legal protections for Wikipedia that we hope for, the court's ruling emphasized the responsibility of Ofcom and the UK government to ensure Wikipedia is protected as the Online Safety Act is implemented." In summation, they can challenge the act if they are defined as a Category 1 platform, which is likely to happen. Wikipedia is basically the library of the internet. Putting it in the same category as platforms like Instagram and Facebook is, like this act as a whole, irresponsible and completely illogical. Logic doesn't matter to the UK's dangerous lawmakers, though. Beyond basically rendering Wikipedia useless in the UK, the act has also unsurprisingly already begun censoring content from minors and adults alike. For example, users on X found that certain posts regarding parliamentary debates, the Palestinian genocide, and the Russia-Ukraine war were censored unless they verified their age. The BBC reported, among the restricted content identified by BBC Verify was a video post on X which showed a man in Gaza looking for the dead bodies of his family buried among the rubble of destroyed buildings. The post was restricted despite not showing any graphic imagery or bodies at any point in the clip. Even if it was graphic, it shouldn't be censored. This is of the public's interest, including minors. If you don't want your 10-year-old who is on Twitter of all places seeing war crimes, then maybe you shouldn't let your 10-year-old go on Twitter. Sandra Watcher, a professor of technology and regulation at the Oxford Internet Institute, expressed alarm at the restrictions and told BBC Verify that the new bill was
not supposed to be used to suppress facts of public interest, even if uncomfortable.
That is what it's supposed to do, though. It's vague on purpose. It's an overreach of power on purpose. If you say that companies will receive huge fines or risk being blocked in an entire country for content that is harmful to minors, then of course, they are going to restrict anything that isn't Aryan family friendly. The Electronic Frontier Foundation said, when fines are at stake, platforms will always default to over-censoring. According to data from Reddit and X, as reported by BBC, up to 37% on X and 59% on Reddit access the sites while logged out, meaning the internet will no longer be free to access by anyone anymore. Gone will be the times when you can view any Reddit post from Google without being logged in. Every site will require your data, and you will have to pay with much more than just your browsing history. The act has already begun severely limiting users' access to certain Reddit communities, requiring them to provide an ID or photo of their face in order to verify their age. Huge communities, ranging from all kinds of topics, were completely censored from Reddit. These include, but are not limited to, r/sexual assault, periods, stop smoking, stop drinking, LGBT, trans, Israeli crimes, and Ukraine war footage. The moderators of r/Israeli crimes told 404 Media, "We're not at all surprised the UK government is deploying this tactic now when the world is paying attention to the horrors unfolding. They'd rather silence a discussion than confront their own complicity." By labeling brutally documented atrocities as mature content and gatekeeping access, they reveal themselves as hypocrites, preaching democracy and human rights abroad while trampling them at home. Everyone, including minors when viewing non-sexually explicit content, are protected by freedom of speech laws. Not only are these laws a privacy nightmare and a clear example of government overreach, but they are also infantilizing in their nature.
Children's minds need to be protected at all cost. They can't even think for themselves. We can't possibly have teenagers freely browsing Reddit.
The UK isn't the only country trying their hand at these laws. In Australia, they passed a law last December that will ban all kids under 16 from even having social media accounts. The law, which isn't set to take effect until the end of 2025, holds social media companies responsible for verifying kids' ages. Not complying could trigger fines up to nearly $50 million. Though much less broad, it's obvious that this law will only further suppress children's access to the internet while creating a whole host of new problems when it goes into effect. And as it goes with the other policies we've discussed, this law will put everyone's online and offline safety at risk due to all the reasons that I previously outlined. The only real way to get these governments to pull back on these bogus laws is for every company to block access to their services in said countries. But who the hell is going to do that? Pornhub, for all their posturing, has complied with the UK's Online Safety Act, saying,
For years, ALO has publicly called for the effective and enforceable age assurance solutions that protect minors online, while ensuring the safety and privacy of all users. The United Kingdom is the first country to present these same priorities demonstrably.
The US is next too. If these state laws regarding pornography weren't proof enough, we already have our own Online Safety Act, called the Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA. KOSA was actually passed in the Senate in July 2024, but it was reintroduced in Congress this past May by Senator Marsha Blackburn. Its goal is to protect the safety of kids on the internet. The act would seek to protect minors from harmful content that promotes things like compulsive usage, eating disorders, suicide, or drug use. In Act S1748, it said that nothing in this section shall be construed to allow a government identity to enforce subsection A based upon the viewpoint of users expressed by or through any speech, expression, or information protected by the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. The act would also only apply to social media platforms that average more than 10 million users on a monthly basis. Seems great in theory, protecting children from potentially harmful content and only affecting very large websites. Well, you should know by now, these bills never begin or end well. Far-right think tank The Heritage Foundation, which was the main operator behind Project 2025, openly admitted that
another step in the right direction would be to prohibit the sexual exploitation of minors and the promotion of content that poses risks to minors' physical and mental health, which the Kids Online Safety Act would do. If we seek to protect kids online, we must guard against the harm of sexual and transgender content. Given the woke design of digital spaces, kids need protection online now more than ever.
Mike Masnick for TechDirt also reported that the foundation admitted that the act could be used to suppress abortion information and remove other forms of protected speech. The Electronic Frontier Foundation said, KOSA is ambiguous enough to allow officials to easily argue that its mandate includes sexual and reproductive healthcare information. They could, for example, claim that abortion information causes emotional disturbance or death, or could lead to sexual exploitation and abuse. As a result, websites could be forced to filter and block such content from minors, despite the fact that minors can get pregnant and are part of the demographic most likely to get their news information from social media platforms. Hell, one of the senators who introduced this bill admitted that this act would protect minor children from the transgender in this culture and that influence, and explicitly said that social media platforms are where children are being indoctrinated. This bill isn't for protecting kids. It's for censoring all of us, and they're not even hiding it. Platforms like YouTube will be able to absorb the blow of these age verification laws. They'll probably benefit from it actually. Just imagine all the free user data they can glean. But smaller sites will fail, and anything online that isn't fit for the Fourth Reich will disappear. I'm not fear-mongering, I'm just being honest. What can we do then? First of all, where the fuck are the parents in all of this? Eric Goldman cites British professor Andy Piffin. Parents and guardians are often the first line of defense, providing guidance, setting boundaries, and monitoring their children's online activities. However, many parents feel ill-equipped to manage the complexities of the digital world, especially given the rapid pace of technological change. Providing parents with the necessary resources, education, and support to navigate these challenges is essential. This isn't foolproof though, since some parents are abusive and controlling, refusing to let their children see any content that doesn't fit within their narrow worldview. Children who have access to the internet and or social media are the ones who need to be taught how to be safe online with an internet that is becoming increasingly more unsafe. Banning them or censoring content for everyone is not the answer. Rather, these governments should prosecute the social media companies that allow CSA material on their sites and create dangerous algorithms to keep us hooked. But why would they do that? It's way too easy and way too explicit. Let's punish entire nations of people instead. These bills are privacy nightmares that will completely remove anonymity on the internet, reducing the content we have access to until only the most sanitary shit is available. I'll link a page from the Electronic Frontier Foundation where they provide easy steps to contact your representatives in the US about the Kids Online Safety Act. We know we can't rely on our representatives though, especially when it comes to a bill like this that has received overwhelming bipartisan support. If you still have a YouTube Premium subscription, I would encourage you to cancel it. While that may pressure YouTube itself, it won't stop national laws from going into effect. I encourage you to be outspoken about this, as we should with every issue in the world. It's also just as important now to protect yourself online as much as you can. Removing yourself from these platforms may make sense now, but in the end, it only leaves people who are accepting of their conditions, unwilling to criticize social media platforms and their governments for a blatant violation of free speech. Well, that's it for me, and that's it for this video. Please comment down below what you thought about this video. If you're from one of the states or countries that have been impacted by these laws, I'd be especially curious to hear your opinion on all of this. Just comment down below anything you want to comment down below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. And if you like me, you can subscribe. I post videos about whatever I feel like talking about, so if that sounds like your thing, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you know when I post a video. If you want more of me, I do have a Patreon that is the best way to directly financially support me. I would really appreciate if you check that out. I upload all sorts of exclusive content on there, so it is well worth your money. I swear. I'd like to thank my Patreon members who are part of my Alpha and Delta tiers. Thank you so much to Dallas Andrade, Elizabeth Ruiz, and Emberly McCauley. I really appreciate your continued support. It means a lot to me, and I'm so sorry if I just pronounce all of your names wrong. I try. If you want to become a Patreon member, I would really appreciate it. The link is down below. I'm also now offering freelance services. just in general, if you know someone who wants someone to edit their YouTube videos for them, or with just one YouTube video, or their YouTube thumbnails, or anything like that, reach out to me on Instagram or my email. If you like the way I edit my videos or do my thumbnails, you think I'm talented at that, you think someone else would like it, pimp me out, okay? With all that being said, I really hope you all enjoyed this video, but more importantly, I really hope I see you in the next video. I better see you in the next video. You better fucking be there, okay? Watching, right? Got a hair in my eye. Okay, bye.